Another NFL trade, another wide receiver for the Buffalo Bills. Yes, they land DJ Moore from the Chicago Bears. Right now, all we have that this is for, quote, mid-round draft capital. Hayden, DJ Moore reunites with Joe Brady, the new head coach of the Bills, who was his OC in Carolina for the 2020 and most of the 2021 season. What is Buffalo getting here with DJ Moore?
Quick timeout. We recorded this. We did not know the exact details of the trade. It's now a second round pick. We thought it was maybe going to be a fourth or fifth round pick. It's a lot. And on top of that, Adam Schefter just tweeted out that it's not just the 2027 money that's going to get guaranteed. They also agreed to guarantee the 2028 money. This is quickly turning into a 3-year, $75 million contract for an aging wide receiver too. This is a lot. The internet, you bullied the Bills into making, I think, a pretty ridiculous trade and contract. Back to the video. DJ Moore is a vertical threat who can get used in the manufactured touch department. Obviously, Joe Brady knows this because there's a familiarity. But to me, if you're DJ Moore, you got to be beyond stoked because it's the downfield stuff that's gone away. And that's been a huge part of his biggest seasons back in 2019 to 2022. And then obviously with Justin Fields for that big spike year as well. But since then, he's not been getting the downfield stuff nearly as often. And that's where Josh Allen's also been looking around saying, I can't find anybody to throw the ball to. All of a sudden, I'm just getting hand grenades thrown to Brandon Cooks in key spots. The Amari Cooper trade and stuff. DJ Moore is a step above those guys, even if he's not quite the same player that he was in his absolute prime.
Yeah, DJ Moore is not a number one wide receiver. Do not consider him a number one wide receiver. So he obviously fits in with the Bills and what their pass catching department does. I mean, Khalil Shakir, Don Kincaid, Keon Coleman, et cetera, et cetera. And I'll add that if they do keep Curtis Samuel, maybe on a reduced contract, who knows? He and DJ Moore like best buddies dating back to their days in Carolina. Okay. I also think it's fair to say that DJ Moore is one of the most hot and cold wide receivers in the entire NFL. Like the type that, to me, Hayden, you tell me if this is unfair, that his emotions, his play, like really impacts his performance and consistency or lack thereof.
I think DJ Moore is one of the most frustrating players in the whole league. There was a rep where he was pretty much on the bench mid-play while he should have been blocking and just not finishing his route. It is insane. And then also the big interception in the playoffs where he more or less like stopped running and DJ Moore just stopped running. So very frustrating player. I also do think that there's maybe a little bit of the DJ Moore decline. ESPN has an open score metric, which is like on-field tracking. It's a scale from 1 to 100. His last 3 years, 65 down to 61, down to 55. They also have a yards after catch metric. That's gone from 58 to 51 to 32. So yeah, I think there's a little bit of risk taking on the contract we'll get to in a second. But I also think that DJ Moore, like you said, is definitely not a number one wide receiver. He's like a inconsistent number two receiver. And I think the familiarity with his boy Curtis Samuel and Joe Brady, I think they can kind of make the exception, say that we can probably get the most out of him. But this is a deal definitely with a ton of risk.
That was going to be my question. We'll get to the Bears end of this and what this means for their wide receiver room and pass catching room moving forward. But still sticking here with the Bills, do they still have pass catching issues adding DJ Moore onto this? Like, again, we can go back to, and this is 6 years ago at this point, the 2020 season. DJ Moore averaged 18.1 yards per catch with Joe Brady as the OC, Teddy Bridgewater at quarterback, which, by the way, also that season, Curtis Samuel had over 1,000 total yards. Robbie Chosen Anderson had over 1,000 yards. Legend. Mike Davis had over 1,000 yards. And then the next year, I mean, statistically, even better for him or close to it at nearly 1,200 yards and 4 touchdowns. I say all that because that's a lot of receptions. That's a lot of receiving yards. But you could make an argument that over the last 2 years, DJ Moore maybe should have been utilized more Deebo Samuel-esque in terms of getting the football in his hands, more manufactured touches. Now, I'm not saying to the degree that we saw it a couple years ago of, oh, we literally can't throw the ball down the field, so it's just screen after screen. But it did feel like there was a disconnect at times with Caleb Williams, and especially a Ben Johnson timing and rhythm-based offense of you need to be at this place, at this time, hit your, route pacing and landmarks over and over and over again, or else the ball is going to be sailing on you or outside of your window to catch it. And too often that happened for DJ Moore, even more so than the other frustrating wide receivers on the Bears.
Yeah, so pretty much if you're on the route tree, anything in the intermediate part of it, like I just do not trust him to be at the spot. A go route, he has the speed to just win a go route, though sometimes press coverage gives him issues. And then the manufactured touch department, he's very good at that, which is what is drawing the Debo Samuel comparisons. Now, at the same time, the Bills seem to have as many manufactured touch guys as you possibly need. So I'm looking at this for the Bills perspective as, is he the answer to the deep pass? Remember the best Steph Diggs years with Josh Allen? Like that's where Josh Allen was like absolutely playing out of his mind.
We even saw some with Brandon Cooks at the end of last season.
Exactly. Yeah. Like that has not been good enough since they got rid of Stephon Diggs and since Stephon Diggs kind of transitioned from winning downfield to more underneath. Maybe he can do that for a little bit. I will note that this is a big price tag to pay contractually for the Buffalo Bills, and that's what makes me really nervous for the Bills side of this. We've bullied Brandon Beane into finding a wide receiver. We should be bullying him to do that. I do think if this is a third or fourth round pick, and it's essentially a 2-year, $48 million contract with more or less about $40 million of those dollars being guaranteed, you're signing up for the 29 and age 30 seasons for him. And that's a lot of money. Like we both have called him like not a number one wide receiver. That's kind of getting the same range as like the Cortland Suttons, like the more like the low end wide receiver one money. And I think it's a pretty big price tag to pay. So Brandon Beane gets to say he fixed this. We'll see with the results. I think there's a lot of inconsistency here.
I mean, if you look at just the AAV right now of wide receivers, he's behind just Terry McLaurin, T. Higgins, and Jalen Waddle, and then ahead of the Jameson Williams, Devontae Smith, Michael Pittman, Cortland Suttons.
I would rather have all those guys.
Wow. It's fascinating. I mean, Joe Brady was just at the NFL Combine talking as if, well, we don't have to use Khalil Shakir as just a low ADOT player. His game can be more. You're also the guy calling plays and building that offense that turned into like this really quick hitting style passing game and run after catch on top of it. He kind of, if I'm reading between the lines, maybe insinuated that was a Sean McDermott thing, and he wants to really open up maybe some of these pass catchers even more. I don't know, man. Like Khalil Shakir is a good player, but that's where Khalil Shakir shines. Yes. I will say DJ Moore on broken plays with Josh Allen, when those two happen, the elongated snaps and his movement abilities in that, I think could be really fun and does elevate what the Bills currently have on the roster. So as many questions as I do have as like of DJ Moore in a vacuum of by himself as an individual, I do want to pinpoint that this is a big boost to what the Bills currently have on their roster at wide receiver. If we talk about getting percentage points better to reach the Super Bowl, this trade is doing that.
Yeah, it's a great fit for DJ Moore. The compensation makes me nervous, but that's for, you know, the accountants and Brandon Beane to figure out, not necessarily for this year's team. So,
and to that point, he was going to be the highest paid player on the Chicago Bears this season. And so for them to get rid of this contract is a big win for that team too.
Yeah, Bears side, they saved $16.5 million, and the rest of the room just kind of shapes up. And by the way, they can use that $16.5 million. They don't have a left tackle. They don't really have an entire defense right now. They're all pretty much free agents, and they've been rumored for like Max Crosby. So like a deal like this does save up a lot of money for the moves over the next couple weeks. But I think everyone's just going to get super excited. Like you name your favorite Chicago Bear. I'm a huge Colston Loveland guy. Like this is obviously paving the path to him to go crazy. Everyone loves Luther Burden. At my entire timeline right now is Luther Burden in the chain. Rome Odunze, there's some fans there. So we should be very excited in fantasy. Like this is the move that needed to happen. I do think that DJ Moore's stock goes up the most going to the Buffalo Bills here. And then obviously with Luther, Rome, Loveland, you pick it, all those guys are going to benefit as well.
Yeah, if there is like a one-to-one change at a position, it is Luther Burden now going to be in 2 wide receiver sets with Rome Odunze, and you can stamp that. I mean, I have zero questions about Luther Burden fulfilling that role. I mean, our buddy John Daigle pointed out that Luther Burden was targeted on 34% of his routes without DJ Moore on the field last season. That's a ludicrous number, and it makes sense for a play caller, a play designer who can manufacture space for his wide receivers, getting the guy in the football who is just fantastic in space. You can create these hidden yards on top of it. That's what Luther Burden does. And I even saw that Luther Burden emerging as more of an outside player last season, I think answering a bunch of questions coming out of college. Now, on top of that, Hayden, could the Bears now be in for a third wide receiver, or are they totally safe and totally happy with the room that they have right now?
Well, their wide receiver 3 is just not as good as the typical wide receiver 3. So I think a minor move, another draft pick, like a third or fourth round pick or something like that to kind of fill it out. But they have a big decision to make on Cole Kmet's contract. I do think that they're going to keep him. They're going to use a lot of 2 tight end sets because Colston Loveland and Cole Kmet complement each other really well. And Colston Loveland, I think, moves around like a wide receiver. So in these 2 tight end looks, I think Colston Loveland's actually so good that you're almost operating as a like 3 wide receiver set offense. Like that's the caliber of player Colston Loveland is. So just quickly on the fantasy ranking side, DJ Moore, I think he's going to go into like the wide receiver 25 to 30 range. That's like Waddle, Christian Watson, Rome Odunze, Brian Thomas, Cortland Sutton. That feels about right. Luther Burden goes from wide receiver 24 into like the wide receiver 19 range. So it's going to be like him versus like Lad McConkey, Garrett Wilson. I think that'll be a debate. Or is he closer to JMO and Zay Flowers? And then Rome Odunze, don't move him up all that much because I was expecting this move to happen. I think
Right.
the big one is going to be how high are we going to draft Colston Loveland? He's at 44th overall. I feel like I would take him in the 3rd round, like late 3rd round. Like Colston Loveland looks like somebody that's going to be an all-pro caliber player in both phases. He's not going to come off the field. He led this team in receiving in the regular season and then also did it separately in the postseason as a rookie tight end who was not even playing the entire snaps early on in the season. So I think that this is absolute lights away for Colston Loveland.
Yeah, this is a big Colston Loveland channel. It's interesting. I feel like I know what I'm getting from Loveland. I know what to expect also, and what we'll probably get from Luther Burden. The one that I really want to see add some consistency to him is Rome Odunze.
Agree. Yeah. I mean, the intermediate, and also they're going to have to get some downfield chops. Like Rome Odunze in college offered some downfield presence because he was dunking on everybody down the field. We haven't seen that in the NFL, and he's dropped some passes as well. So it would be very, very, very good timing if he has that year 3 breakout that we're looking for.
And final point here. When DJ Moore is hot, he's hot. You know, like, again, we saw it with those Justin Fields performances. We see it in other 100-yard games. You see it with the ball in his hands. He can shed contact. He can make people miss these extended acrobatic catches. And I think that's why it can be so frustrating when it kind of seems like the switch turns off. So, kind of like mid-games, mid-routes, when he's not getting the football, when you see like, I don't know, 6 straight James Cook carries. And then on the 7th, hey, what is Rome Odunze going to do on this one?
Yeah.
I'm going to ask you a prediction before we get out of here.
Okay.
Do you think that this is the biggest or possibly the only move that we see with Brandon Beane to attack the pass catching group around Josh Allen?
I think this is going to be the biggest one. I think there'll be another minor one, you know, like another like Josh Palmer level type of deal or something like that. Or maybe it's another 3rd round draft pick. But I think this was the big one. They're going to, I think, maybe give some Keon Coleman trade calls and see what the deal is there. But I think that he would kind of slide into, you know, that wide receiver 3, and then it's a big competition again. So you nailed it at the top. It's a bunch of wide receiver 2s and 3s and 4s on this team, all competing for spots. And DJ Moore, at least, is the fastest of them all.
And the other part of that for the Bills in free agency is they have 2 of their interior players are free agents. So that has been a major consistent element for them over the last few years. They really draft and develop that front 5. And losing them would mean either replacement via free agency or replacement via the draft.
Yes. And my last thing is pay attention to how much money the actual free agents are going to get, because they could have said this is 2 years for almost $50 million. What does Mike Evans get? What does Alec Pierce get? What does Jawan Jennings get? You know, all these different types of guys that we're going to pay attention to. I think that looking at the trade compensation in the actual cap space that's going to DJ Moore, compare that to the free agents, we'll have this better idea of how that shakes out in a couple days.
All right. I think this also shows some influence that Joe Brady already has with Brandon Beane when Sean McDermott, you know, ended his time, maybe saying and conflicting on Brandon Beane and some of the draft, maybe decisions that they had, to the point that ownership had to, in a press conference, stand up for his general manager and be like, I know what was in the room, and they're all lying to you. And my guy sitting right next to me, and Brandon Beane was the right one. So.
Yeah, a PR firm should be calling the Bills and get the messaging in order here.
All right. Whenever you see another trade go down, you know where to check in. That is here on this channel. And we can't wait for free agency to even kick off this weekend. And especially on Monday, we'll have reaction videos to all those moves as quick as possible. So hit subscribe, and we'll check in the next one.